back in the McStay trial. There's been fireworks in the courtroom, but we're going to break it down for you because it's a little complicated. Here, the prosecution last night told the defense at 5 p.m. about a witness they want to call, maybe one, maybe two, but definitely one, the son of the owners of the sheet metal company called Metro Sheet Metal that the McStays had been doing business with concerning the water fountains that they build, okay? Now, that's very simple. But the prosecution wants the son to testify that there was two things. One, that this defendant, Merritt, had, after the McStays disappeared, had unexplained absences going on, and the judge is allowing that in, and we'll talk about why. Number two, that indeed there was a check. You saw, if you're going to see when you see replays of this, that the defense was very involved, the defendant very involved, this is giving stickies to his lawyer, that there was a check that was supposed to come to the sheet metal company, and indeed, according to the prosecution, the father, who is not testifying right now, you get that? Through the son, can say that that Merritt was asked about it and was told that, hey, Joe McStay gave you the check for us to give us to build this fountain, to pay for this fountain. And that Merritt said, hey, I'm sorry, but I cashed it. I used it for other projects. Now, the defense argued that indeed that the check was made out to Metro Sheet Metal and therefore it's not relevant. Mike, why is this testimony really being let in?
I think what they're trying to do is, and I don't like when prosecutors do this, is, you know.
Well, you're a defense attorney, so, you know.
But I'm a former prosecutor as well. And I always thought you put your strongest part of your case in. And if you have like an argument like this on, to me, which is not, I think they're trying to show that he was a degenerate gambler and that he would, you know, steal from Peter to pay Paul.
And that's exactly what the defense said, right? They said the real reason is coming out. They want to show that he's a gambler, and therefore he had a motive to steal, and therefore he's a bad guy, therefore he killed, right?
Correct.
Right. Now, there's some things the judge didn't let in. Something about a tool cabinet. Did you understand this?
No, I didn't know what that. I heard the tail end of that, and I didn't. But my mind was really racing onto what was going on with this check. Because
well, let's see if we can discern it, because we're going back into the courtroom as they continue. Okay, so apparently what's going on now, the defense argued that the forensic anthropologist is going to tell us that what we all know, that these are the bones, right, of the victims, the decedents, but apparently the defense argued that they only had these little tiny, like photocopies in black and white of the pictures, and today, when she came in, they got the real pictures and additional ones that she took at the autopsy. Now, Mike Koribanics, you were a prosecutor, I was a prosecutor, I always give my whole file over. I find a little fault here with the defense for not asking for the originals of those photos, because I know I always do.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you. You get any report, as soon as you get it, you don't put it off, you put the phone call on hold, especially in these kind of cases. You go through it and see if there's anything referred to in that report that may be out there somewhere else. There's pictures.
But let me just stop you right there. Let me ask you, but the additional ones at autopsy, why didn't the prosecution give those over?
Well, these
murder, they were found in 2000,
This is an old case. This is a very old case, right? and you're dropping it now. I mean, defense can make a very good argument and say, Judge, you know what, we want to break during this trial. We'd like to have our expert look at it, and that's going to take 2 months. Yeah,
except that they have the DNA. This is a lot of fluff about nothing, I think, because they have the DNA. The prosecution knows that these are the victims. Why do you need to put somebody on to go through 145, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, I did say that. Yesterday was 745. It must be a thing, 145 photos, again, to say these are the victims. Unless you want to show that, indeed, look, this is a terrible thing. Their skulls are crushed in.
Well, I just have never been a big fan of over-prosecuting a case. I just think you lose the jury, especially in this day and age, because juries' attention spans are much shorter than they used to be.
Well, let's go into the courtroom. Let's see if they can get our attention span right back. Okay. Mike Koribanics, let's talk about this, okay? Just a little. What the witness has just said, that he had to fill in for the defendant who did a lot of the plumbing, shipping, whatever, and that's Chase Merritt, because he wasn't there a lot of times because he had something about a hat, which I didn't understand, but that he had to go gambling. Now, that's exactly what the defense said the prosecution wanted to get out of this witness, that he was a gambler and therefore had to steal money, had debts, and then killed the McStays, right?
Yeah, I think that's stretching it. And a little surprised because they were so blunt about it, and it seemed like there was the prosecution. But it seemed they were really trying to do it very covert in making their arguments for admission.
They got it, and that's not David Joe Cicada, because he's very honest. He's just telling what he knows and how he perceived it. There's something that does bother me. There was a mention again after the judge said you couldn't get something about a homemade tool cabinet, but the prosecution mentioned tools and equipment. And when I hear that, I think, sledgehammers. Do you think there's something going on there?
I would hope that if there was some real concrete evidence as to a sledgehammer, they'd start swinging it much earlier in the case than now.
That's a good point. And then the other thing was, remember, there's a three partnership here, and they use the term loosely because David Kavanaugh was in this, and he has Fifth Amendment rights. The judge is not allowing him what we call some other due defense by the defense is trying to point to him. But apparently, the argument here is that money that was supposed to go to this group never got there. And, what the argument from Chase Merritt is, well, the checks were always made out to Metro Sheet Metal, so how could he steal it? But then there was something that wasn't allowed in, and that was a transfer from McStay's PayPal account into David Kavanaugh controlled PayPal account. It was advanced during the mom's testimony, Miss Blake, and it wasn't allowed in. Quite frankly, I'm at a loss as to why none of that is coming in, and yet this is coming in.
I'm at a loss because, under the best evidence rule.
We're the experts.
And under the best evidence rule, we're talking about these checks to Metro. How they're not in this day and age, and even I know this is an older case, but computer banking,
2013, 2010, right?
Well, there's digital computers, there's check cashing done online, all these things. It's not very difficult to get copies of checks. And checks, as you and I both know, you could cross-examine on one check within the four corners of both sides.
I can cross-examine on 745 pictures for that.
But
so
one check will give you a story in a novel of where it went and follow the money trail. How they could let this testimony in is, I think, the judge missed the call.
One other thing that they didn't let in, that I really objected, was asking Mr. Cicada, how old are you? Objection. Okay, so we have to go to break on that. My Koribanics, okay? I think so far, even though this may have been a lot of objectionable stuff that may get the verdict overturned with all the other objectionable issues, I thought this was the worst witness for the defense that's been presented so far. One, the import of all these miscellaneous tools in a storage unit that the defendant had. Number two, the use of the words that his dad, who you even though you haven't met him, wasn't digging him. Talking about digging. I love the dad. It's better with the rolled dice. Reminds me of my father. But I really thought that this witness really hurt the defense.
This is always a dangerous kind of witness because he's really got no horse in the race. So he's coming and he's just saying what he sees. He's got nothing. He doesn't even seem like he's angry at Merritt for ripping him off for the money.
I'm not so concerned about when he said the defendant didn't seem worried because, in business you try not to show worry if something's happened. But also, going back to what we talked about before, I really think McStay was killed elsewhere after the lunch meeting. I think the family was lured out, and I think that what's hurt the prosecution is this other garbage theory about being killed in the house. Because now you have a storage unit, you have the pinging in the desert. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts is this case is really just confusing me. I have to be really, really honest with you because it's so difficult to follow because it looks like the prosecution doesn't really have a path they're going down. It seems they're going to, anytime there's a place to turn off, they turn off. It almost seems like they're investigating the case as they're trying it, which is really not a good tactic to take.
And we've talked about it in the past that this is a real tragedy. This is a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old. This is a mother. This is a father. And the victims here also are the family, the grandparents. And to find that this has happened, and hopefully the person who's on trial is the one who is guilty and will get convicted if he is guilty. Hopefully that the bad problems that the prosecution's encountered, the bad investigation, the failure to take it seriously in the beginning doesn't prevent real justice. But when we look at this case as prosecutors, as Mike Koribanics has been, as I've been, as defense attorney, as Mike Koribanics has been, as I've been, it really just tears a hole in your heart. Well, we have to go now. We will be back tomorrow morning following a lot of trials, including this. I'll see you next week. Bye.